I need you to have something I can default to look at, which would descriptively tell me why it is my harm principle, or what I consider harm to be, is wrong.
Right.
I have this thing called the Bible and church authority. You have a humanist manifesto to answer those kinds of questions. What's not a fair argument is for you to say that it's logically impossible for us to redetermine what harm is under humanism.
I can see I'm wrong.
What with okay.
Andrew Wilson destroys this secular humanist. Make sure to watch till the end because I have a Bible verse that will tie all of this together. Let's get right into the video.
When it comes to child transition surgery, right, we have a split on whether or not that's harmful. Who should I side with? Who should I side with?
The position of that is something that I wouldn't want to get into because... am I allowed to get my thoughts out?
What about harm?
Yeah.
My harm!
I didn't say I wasn't going to. I would say it's something I wouldn't want to. But again, I'm not allowed to get my words out here. Right. So as a collective society, we would get together and see what happens. And that is going through changes at the moment. Personally, I don't agree with that, right? And the current position within secular humanists seems to be that allowing children to transition is something that causes harm. Right? That is the position that I personally hold when I look at the evidence, and what other secular humanists are saying is that allowing children to transition causes harm, because children are not at a place where they are able to make that decision. Their brain is not fully developed, and especially people with, we look at neurodivergence, neurodivergence actually have a much higher percentage of wanting to transition and things like that, and that could be an effect of them being neurodivergent. So we have to look at individual cases, but personally, children in transition, because they are not ready to make that decision, their brains aren't fully developed until they're like the age of 25. So letting children do that before they have the ability to is in itself causing harm.
So then what's going on here, just so you understand, I just demonstrated something very important to you. You said we know what harm is.
Yes.
Our collective experience demonstrates what harm is. Then I ask you a simple question. There's two different collections of people right now. One who believes that this is very harmful, and one, like you, who believes it's not very harmful.
And which one of those is secular humanists?
Which one of those? Well, humanists themselves disagree.
Well,
Matt Dillahunty, who's a humanist, for instance, is right as we speak probably sucking lady balls, right? Like that's actually true. So
Matt
hang on, stop.
Wow. That's crazy that he said that.
Stop, bro. It's my turn,
yeah.
bro. My turn. Calm down.
I'm
Calm
not
down,
Matt
bro.
Dillahunty.
Calm down. It's my
I'm
turn.
not Matt Dillahunty.
Calm down.
Right?
I didn't say you were.
Right. I'm not going to run away from a debate.
I didn't say you were. I didn't tell you to run.
Okay?
I didn't tell you anything. Calm down.
Right.
So anyway, back to where we were. What I'm saying is, he's a humanist. You're a humanist. Clearly, you fucking disagree about this.
Does Matt,
stop, bro.
Just ask a quick question. Does he say specifically that he thinks children should transition?
Craig, calm down.
I'm just asking a question. Is that what he says?
Yes, but anyway, calm down.
I don't think that's what
Humanists themselves, okay? Humanists themselves disagree.
Which ones?
Stop, bro. Would you chill out for 2 seconds? They themselves disagree on even what a man is. They disagree on the prescriptions for children.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. And they disagree about all of these things within the very same framework you're talking about. The thing is like, that's fine. You can grant that humanists can disagree. As the peanut gallery was telling you, you can make the same criticism about the Bible. Theologically, people disagree all the time. Totally fair argument. What's not a fair argument is for you to say that it's logically impossible for us to redetermine what harm is under humanism. Of course we can redetermine what harm is under humanism. Why couldn't we? Why?
Because their collective experiences as humanity show us what harm is. And if we look at what has happened in the past with humanity, and we try to change it to go back to when it was harmed, that would go against what secular humanism is. But to be clear...
for him to think that we can't change what we think harm. If there is no God, what we know to be harmful is always going to be the same. If there is no God, no, that's not true.
All secular, you are just lumping all kind of LGBTQ stuff as secular humanists. That's not just secular humanists that hold those positions. So you can be someone that is LGBTQ and not be a secular humanist.
I was demonstrating
mix
something,
those two
not
up,
making it about LGBTQ. I'm demonstrating that within this worldview, there's disagreement within it. That's fine, right? I'm not making that as a criticism.
But just to be clear, that's not a secular humanist view, though. That's just a human view.
Craig, I'm not making that the critique.
But you just did, though, Andrew.
No,
you made that
no.
critique in
The
front of all these people. Why are you lying? You made that critique.
That I made was about harm, the principle of harm. I'm giving you an analogy to the principle of harm and saying, even if you say it's logically impossible for us to change what harm is based on collective human experience, that can't be true, because even we all right now share experiences and disagree about what is harmful based on those experiences. When you say that that's logically impossible, I need that actually demonstrated, Craig. That's what I'm saying to you.
Humanity demonstrates that, Andrew.
How?
Because of what has happened to humanity throughout history, right? That is what lets us decide what is harm. Let's look at the last 200 years and the amount of harm that has happened, the amount of wars that have happened, the amount of bad things that have happened. We can look back at the past 200 years and go, well, what about that has caused harm? And then we can look to the future to say, well, how can we stop that happening? And if we look at the suffering and the unhappiness and the death and destruction that has come from all the bad things, that a lot of it is because of holy wars and fighting over whatever my particular God says, and we can say, well, how can we make the harm from that not happen? And all we have to do is look at what has happened throughout history and how that affects humanity to get to the decision.
So
That's crazy that he would say that, because yeah, a lot of the wars is because one person says what they're doing is bad. Everyone said that what Hitler was doing was bad. That's why there was a fight. And a lot of it is because of a religious reason. We think that, not for whatever reason, it's because that morality isn't subjective. There are things that are inherently evil and bad.
Let's take a look here. When you say war is very harmful, right? At the same time, you also say population reduction is actually probably pretty good.
I didn't say population reduction. Let's be clear. I said a slightly lower birth rate is not a bad thing. A slightly lower birth rate still increases population.
The birth rate is going to go down if more men are dead, right, Craig?
Yeah, because war's bad.
Okay, great. So since we've established that, if I say I think that actually these wars cause less harm to society because, well, it got the population down, and that actually is good for us long term. I have now made an argument for how I've reduced harm. Craig, if you disagree with that harm principle, right? We both disagree with it.
That's not what I said.
Would you chill out for a second? If we both disagree with that harm principle, right? Our collective experiences can come to wildly different conclusions. If that's the case, I need you to have something I can default to look at, which would descriptively tell me why it is my harm principle or what I consider harm to be is wrong. But I have this thing called the Bible and church authority. You have a Humanist Manifesto to answer those kinds of questions. Where in the Humanist Manifesto can I find out that if I want to, I don't know, lock all the women up and breed them, that's actually morally wrong? Okay, Craig, where?
So, you are misunderstanding what the manifesto is for. The manifesto is a guideline. And then based on that guideline, people will get together and make decisions. Nobody is going to make a single decision that everybody then follows, like in your screwed up version of the world, where you can refer to a magic sky daddy as the absolute normative authority. It's ridiculous.
Instead of our earth daddy?
Right,
instead of your earth daddy?
You notice how I let you talk.
Oh, I can't believe God did that.
You notice how I let you talk, Andrew. You notice how I let you talk.
Go ahead,
right.
Go ahead.
So once again, we don't need a normative authority. We don't need a one set of particular rules. What we need is a framework that we can get together and discuss to assess what is going to happen. We don't need a one particular person or one person's interpretation or one divine commandment to follow.
We don't need a normative authority?
No, we don't. Why would we?
Well, I don't understand. When you have a collective of people who decide based on your manifesto and they're interpreting it to give you prescriptions, what do you call that?
Not a normative authority, because
what is it?
It's not.
What is it?
It is a framework that you would get together and discuss.
No, not the framework. I'm not saying that the framework is your normative authority. Like you said, that's a framework.
Yeah.
All the people who get together to decide the prescriptions based on the framework would be referred to as normative.
No, that normative authority is a single thing, right? Not a collection of people.
Do you know what a normative authority even is, Craig?
Give me your definition of it, then.
No, Craig, I'm not going to give you your definition for normative authority. What is it?
It's a single prescription for something coming from a particular set of rules.
Look it up. real quick, Craig.
Oh, tell me if
I'm
I'm
going
wrong.
to stop. I'll stop.
Right, tell me if I'm wrong.
Pull up normative authority.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell me if I'm wrong.
So normative, philosophically, right? It's like an ought claim, right? What we ought to do.
Yeah.
If you have a normative authority, what is that doing? It's an authority expressing what you should be doing. So in the church, right, we would be referring to our ecclesiastical authority as our normative authority, meaning here's our framework, here's our church framework, this is our normative authority telling us what we ought to do. Same thing with the Bible, a normative authority telling us what we ought to do. If you have a bunch of people who get together and they make prescriptions based off of this manifesto that you're supposed to follow, those would be called what?
Okay, right.
What would they be called, Craig?
Normative authority.
I concede I'm wrong.
What would
Okay,
got
right.
it.
Okay.
So hang on.
Right,
And by the way,
just
that's the first time ever. Congratulations, Craig.
I want to be clear.
Congratulations, Craig.
Right? Woo. I want to be clear, right? This is only my second debate within this field, and I might not be completely up to date on all the vernacular and everything. So if I get certain words wrong and stuff, hey, I'm going to hold my hand up.
And I'm not going to hold it.
I'm
not going to hold that against you, dude.
Right?
I'm not going to hold it against you. Go ahead.
The point I'm trying to make is instead of going to like a single position, like the God says, right? Instead, what we do is we get together and we decide collectively based on what we feel is better to stop the harm. Okay? And
that's a normative authority.
okay, right. I concede I was wrong on that point. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is a normative
my
authority.
whole
There we go. That's funny. At least he conceded. I do like Andrew Wilson on some occasions. Not all of them. I definitely don't agree with everything that Andrew Wilson teaches or thinks. But for this point, at the end of the day, it's either God deciding what the law is, or the church, which is supposed to be God, or it's a bunch of other people coming together and deciding what the law is. You still have to follow those certain rules. But the problem is, no one's always going to completely agree with people's rules, man-made rules. But for God, there's a law above the law that holds us accountable that we should follow.
The point here isn't to beat you up about being wrong in a debate. I'm wrong in debates all the time, just not in this one. What I'm saying to you here, Craig, is just this. If you have to have a normative authority, people who get together who make prescriptions, right? What they're doing is they're using your framework. So in Christianity, we would do the same thing. We're going to use the framework of the Bible, the teachings of Jesus Christ, and then we're going to have a normative authority, an ecclesiastical structure, which helps interpret that framework so that we know what we should or shouldn't do. Now, this is the same exact thing you're doing. But the thing is I can use the framework, which is the Bible, to debunk the prescriptions that I've made against the manifesto. You can't do that with your manifesto. That's my point.
Yep.
Right. Again, you're using the manifesto wrong.
Okay.
And,
I'm willing.
and I've
okay.
explained why, and I do feel like we're just going round in circles.
No, this is actually important.
Right.
I would
Can
like
I-
to actually
let me-
know
can
how
I-
I'm using it wrong. Go ahead.
I'm trying to, because again, it's not a set of rules like the Bible, right? Like that's not set out the same way. It's not saying this is exactly what you need to do.
Right.
Right. It is something that we will get together as a collective and say, right, and this is how we think will make a better society. And if something in society happens and we need to adjust that, we can adapt as society evolves. But the overall point of it is to reduce harm and increase flourishing. And you can't do that if you're doing something that is causing unhappiness, causing unhealthiness, causing injury, and feelings of not being happy. That is against what the secular humanism.
So this makes
manifesto
sense.
goes,
So
right?
what you're saying, and I'm just going to steel man again to make sure I'm not getting it wrong. I don't want you to say I'm straw manning you. What you're saying is that this framework, which is Humanist 3, the manifesto, this is a framework which is not giving prescriptions, but rather it's a framework which is used by a collective body to give prescriptions, right?
I wouldn't say prescriptions, more.
What you ought to do?
No.
No.
What is better for helping society?
Well, should we do what's better?
It doesn't try to give rules. It doesn't try to say this is exactly what you should do.
I'm not saying it does.
Right. It just says if you want to have a healthier society, then this is the way to do it.
So it's being interpreted, right?
By a collective, yes.
Okay, got it.
Right.
So if a collective of Christians interpret this to say, under 1 here, that knowledge of the world is derived by observation, experiment, and rational analysis, If the prescription they come up with is the birth rate is low, therefore all women must be forcibly bred, why are they wrong?
Because they would have to show why birth rate is a bad thing for lower birth rate is a bad thing for humanity.
Why would they have to show that? There's nothing in the manifesto, the guiding stone from which they're making their prescriptions, that says that in any way contradicts with the framework itself.
Well, what we would do in that case, again, as humanists, we would get together and we would say, is this going to cause harm? Then yes. Well, then we won't do that.
Yeah, I know. So what if they got together and said...
But the problem is, not everyone agrees on what causes harm. And a lot of times, people will say the opposite of what Christianity says causes harm. And they'll say, no, this is actually good for you. Yeah, they'll say, transitioning and becoming a woman, but really you're a man. They'll say that's good for you. But in the long run, no, it's not. It's against what God designed. They'll say, let's abort babies because that's good for you so that you can have a flourishing life and you don't have to take care of a child. No, you're wrong.
Actually, I think that this will lower harm.
What if God said lock people up?
Yeah, no, but what if they said...
Yeah, but what if God said it was okay to do it?
What if he did? So anyway,
so would
the
you,
prescription...
right, so let's ask, because
you're just moving the goalposts.
Yeah, that's fine, but all you've done so far is ask me questions about mine, right? So I'm going to ask you questions about yours. What if God said it was okay to lock women up?
What if he did? Let's just say Christianity is a complete lie, all of it's nonsense, all of it's BS. We're talking about the effects of society.
So you're trying to get rid... Yeah, okay, so if... how would Christianity deal with this then? If we said, okay, it's a lower birth rate, let's lock people up and experiment on them to make higher birth rates, what would Christianity say about
Our
that?
ecclesiastical authority would say you're not allowed to do that.
Which one?
Well, in fact, here's how I would define Christian, if you want to make it easy. It's people who believe in the Nicene Creed, people who accept the Nicene Creed. All people who accept the Nicene Creed would now fit on the category of Christians. All of them would have the same moral framework, which would say that this is
immoral. And which moral
immoral.
framework specifically, cite me the specific thing that says you can't lock women up and experiment on them to stop a lower birth rate.
You mean the Ten Commandments?
Yeah, where is that?
You want me to pull up the Ten Commandments for you?
Then go to the other 260 rules as well.
You mean Noahide laws?
Well, they're part of Christianity, right?
No, not Noahide laws.
Well, some Christians would disagree with you.
What
Not the ones who believe in the Nicene Creed.
Well, okay, so you are saying that Christians that don't believe in the Nicene Creed aren't Christians.
Yes.
Well,
Greg.
okay,
yes.
they think they're Christians.
That's what I'm saying.
But
yes.
here's the thing: they think they're Christians.
Well, right now I think I'm a humanist. Am I?
Do you think that?
Am I a humanist right now, Craig? Because I made humanist prescriptions.
Do you think you're a humanist?
Yes.
Okay, then you can be. No, there's nothing.
No.
You can be a Christian. You can be a Christian and be a.
I don't know. Just because you think that you do something doesn't mean you actually are. Like, that's totally different. Like, the whole idea of Christianity is believing in something and having values in those things, as in believing that Jesus died on the cross and rose again in 3 days, believing in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. All of those things, like the Nicene Creed, is very, very important for the Christian doctrine. That's great.
Humanist, there's nothing wrong with that. You can be a Christian and be a humanist.
Okay.
Right?
Then my prescriptions are humanist prescriptions.
But if you could be a humanist, a Christian, and be a humanist, because humanism lets you have freedom of religion. But what you're saying right now is, I'm deciding what Christian is, but you don't get to decide what Christianity is because other Christians would disagree with you. And to be clear, you are here to defend all of Christianity, not just.
No, I'm not here to defend Christianity at all. I'm here to defend the effects of it on society.
Yeah, what you're trying to do is why Christianity is better for society.
Yeah.
So that means you have to go for all.
Would it matter?
Hold on, let me finish my point,
Go
please.
ahead. Go
That
ahead.
means that you have to defend all of Christianity, not just the Christianity that you think is Christianity. Because there's a lot of Christians that disagree with your definition of Christianity. But that doesn't matter. As a Christian, you still you are here to defend every version of Christianity. That includes the Christianity of Ethiopia that hold the ancient texts that you don't believe in, because they still call themselves Christians.
They're still better for society than humanists. Like, what are you talking? All I'm here to do is to defend whether or not. Craig, my turn, Craig. All I'm here to do.
The Ethiopian Christians, just because they have a different Old Testament Bible, they have, I believe, the book of Enoch in there. What does that mean? What does that have to do with Christianity? What does that have to do with Jesus? They still believe, I'm pretty sure, in the fundamental truths of Christianity. Jesus died on the cross, was buried, resurrected in 3 days. It's not by our works that save us, but it's by grace through faith, or faith through grace. I need to read.
Is to defend the effects on society of Christianity versus humanism.
Right,
I'm
so let's
arguing,
look at that.
Stop. I'm arguing that there is no real effect from humanism on society because it has this intrinsic problem. The problem
Doing
is
no harm.
No.
I went through it in my intro, right?
Craig, chill
but
out.
let's look at
Craig,
Christianity.
chill out, Craig.
Andrew, right?
I just let you talk,
done,
Craig.
Andrew, all you've done so far
Craig,
is
chill
attack.
out,
One
Craig.
second. 1 second. I want to go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you. So what I'm saying to you, Craig, is that because you suffer from this problem of your framework, right, has to be interpreted by your authority, which is the same exact criticism you're levying against Christianity, by the way. You say it's logically impossible for the definition of harm to change because collectively we're just not going to change it.
Well, no, I
Right?
said it's impossible.
Hang on.
I said it's impossible
Craig,
to change to your definition of harm.
give me 10 seconds.
Well, if you
Calm
strawman me,
down.
I need to just let you know that,
Calm
that's
down.
not what I said. That's
Okay,
all.
okay, calm
Right.
down. You get a
so
chance.
I didn't say that.
Okay,
so just to be
get a
clear.
chance, Craig. Calm
I'll
down.
give you a chance to wrap up, Andrew, and then we'll kick it back to Craig.
Yeah. So anyway, the point here is that when I look at society, I don't see any effects from humanism. I see a lot of effects from Christianity, and a lot of them are
Bad
really,
ones.
really, really positive. Your humanist effects don't even exist because all you're saying is this: we use this like manifesto, this loose document of ideas that anybody, including a Christian humanist, can come up with the prescription that we're going to lock women up and forcibly breed them, and you can't actually use your framework to tell them why that's wrong. You have to appeal to something outside of it. In this
Dang.
case, I don't know, loose libertarian print. Like I don't know what principles you're even adhering to outside of it that
Let's
make
kick
you
it-
a humanist
Let's
now.
kick it back to Craig.
So individual autonomy prioritizes human welfare. There is nothing about human welfare that says locking women up and experimenting on them is good.
There's nothing that doesn't.
Well, there is because it's human. It's that is against ethics and justice. It's not. It's not.
Where? Show me where it says
It advocates for human rights, and humans have rights. To
Yeah,
not
what does
have
that mean,
done.
though? It's nowhere in your document.
Again, these are things that you can, from the Humanist Manifesto, gather. And
No, you
humanists get
can't.
together
I
and
have it
agree
in
with
front of
that,
me. I
right?
interpreted it totally different.
But then you don't get to individually decide what that is, though.
Why not?
Because that you're not a collective. You're a person, Andrew.
So-
right?
so-
let's look at the. Let's look at.
Genesis 1:27 says, "So God created human beings in His image. In the image of God, He created them, male and female. He created them. You guys are made in the image of God. Therefore, you have intrinsic value. You're made in the image of God." I encourage you all to go to Jesus today. Know that He loves you.